Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Saturday, August 26, 2023. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Saturday in Major League Baseball. First up, the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Logan Allen and Hyun-Jin Ryu are your projected starters. We got two lefties on the mound in this matchup, and these two teams offensively against lefties in the last month, pretty much polar opposites. The Blue Jays are top 10 in baseball in team OPS and isolated power against lefties with a low strikeout rate to go with it. The Guardians, some of the worst numbers in the league against lefties, a 529 team OPS, which is the worst in the league, the lowest isolated power number as well. So, Logan Allen, I think, is a solid starting pitching option, but just a really tough matchup for him, and I don't think he's going to get a lot of run support in this game. He has been really good on the road, a 2.85 ERA, so maybe worth a look towards the under, but Ryu, he's pitching sharp, 1.89 ERA so far. Small sample size, but 19 innings of work. He's starting to miss some more bats as well. His last game against the Reds, 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, no earned runs given up, 2 unearned runs, but the defense didn't help him out in that one. I think we see the Blue Jays win this game. Give me Toronto on the money line. Next up, the Atlanta Braves taking on the San Francisco Giants. Max Fried for Atlanta, no official starter for the Giants. I'll lean towards the Braves here on the money line and maybe sprinkle a little bit on the run line as well. Max Fried pitching well this season, struggled a little bit against the Giants in his last start, but San Francisco overall this year and in the last month have really struggled against lefties. In the last 30 days, a high strikeout rate, 28.2%, low walk rate at 5.1%, and they're 22nd in both OPS and ISO against southpaws. So I don't think they do much here against Max Fried. And the Giants' bullpen's been good this season, but this is one of the toughest lineups in baseball to face as a righty or lefty. I do think the Braves get to him for a few runs. The Giants' bullpen in the last month, an ERA just below 4. Decent expected numbers, but I just don't think you're going to be able to trust them for a full 9 innings. Give me the Atlanta Braves here on the money line, but not my favorite game on the board. Next up, the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Colorado Rockies. No official starter for the home team, but we should see Chris Flexen for Colorado. Chris Flexen had his best start as a Rocky in his last game, but I still don't trust him here on the road against this tough Orioles lineup. I also don't love this Rockies bullpen, which in the last month has an ERA above 7 at 7.51 and the second highest ERA in the league to go with it. Flexen, like I mentioned, his start last time out was a good one, but it was against the Chicago White Sox, one of the worst teams in the American League, and that was still a 10-5 Rockies loss in the end. Give him the Baltimore Orioles here, laying those 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Seattle Mariners. We're going to see Jordan Lyles and Logan Gilbert on the bump in this one. I like the over in this game. Jordan Lyles, an ERA at 6.2 on the season. Obviously been a disappointing year, and he's been even worse on the road with a 6.9 ERA. He just faced this Mariners lineup. It was a 10-8 final score in that game back on August 15th, where he gave up 7 total runs. 6 of those were earned, and 4 home runs in that ball game. Makes it 6 homers his last 2 starts, and the Mariners are hitting righties very well in the last 30 days. But Logan Gilbert, also his last game against the Astros, I was a little bit concerned with the fact that he was giving up a lot of base hits, a lot of sharp contact, and 2 home runs as well. He also gave up 2 home runs to these Royals back on August 14th in another high-scoring game, 7-6 the final, where he only went 4 1/3 innings, giving up 4 earned runs and those 2 homers. So 2 teams hitting righties well in the last month. 2 starting pitchers that just faced the same lineup in a very short span of time, which is not easy. And both of those guys kind of struggled in those games. To me, this looks like an over all the way. I'll take the over in Kansas City, Seattle. Next up, the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Boston Red Sox. Julio Urias and James Paxton are your starters. So another game with 2 lefties on the mound. At the beginning of the season and overall this season, Julio Urias has not been great on the road. He's been much better at Dodger Stadium, but he is in really good form right now. The Dodgers have won each of his last 5 starts, and that includes his last road game back on August 8th against the Diamondbacks, where he went 6 innings to shut out baseball with 5 strikeouts in the end. So, even though Urias doesn't have a good, splits on the road, I think he's good enough here against the Red Sox team that hasn't been great against lefties in the last month. They're 23rd in baseball in isolated power. They're 29th in baseball in team OPS. The Dodgers hitting lefties very well. James Paxton not in good form. Last game gave up 6 earned runs against the Houston Astros. Another tough lineup there. Give me the Los Angeles Dodgers on the money line on the road. Next up, the New York Yankees taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Clark Schmidt and Tyler Glasnow are your starters. Glasnow's not coming off a great performance against the Angels where he gave up 5 earned runs in 6 innings of work, but before that he was in excellent form his previous 3 outings, giving up 1 earned run or fewer. Good strikeout numbers, including in that game. He had 7 strikeouts, no walks against the Angels. So I think he bounces back here against the Yankees team. We've talked about it all season. They have struggled mightily against right-handed pitching. And I like Clark Schmidt on the mound. I think he's really improved his game as the season's gone on, but he hasn't been good on the road with an ERA just below 6 at 5.75. And he's facing a Rays team that's crushing the baseball against righties in the last 30 days. Much better numbers than the Yankees. I got to take the Rays in this game. The Yankees just a disappointing season, playing like a disappointing team. Give me the Rays on the money line. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the Miami Marlins. Jake Irvin and Yuri Perez are your starters. Yuri Perez has been a lot better at Lone Depot Park, similar to a lot of starters in this Marlins rotation than on the road, where he's pitching at Lone Depot Park. He's got a 1.96 ERA in 36 2/3 innings, 48 strikeouts, and a 189 opponent's batting average when he's on the road, which luckily he's not in this spot. He's got an ERA above 4. I think Perez pitches well here. The Nationals have hit lefties better than righties overall this season. And although the Nationals, they do a really good job at limiting strikeouts, and that can be a little bit of a problem for a strikeout-dependent starter in Perez, I still think Perez is the better option in this one. I also think the Marlins get to Jake Irvin, who, has actually been a solid pitcher in this Nationals rotation. Give him credit. I didn't think he was really MLB ready, but he's been able to give the Nationals 96 2/3 innings with a decent 4.47 ERA, but on the road an ERA above 5. Gives up a lot of sharp contact and a lot of home runs. I think he struggles in this one. Give me the Miami Marlins on the run line. Next up, it's the Houston Astros taking on the Detroit Tigers. We're going to see Hunter Brown and Eduardo Rodriguez on the mound in this game. Now, Hunter Brown struggled against the Tigers in his first start against them. He went 4 2/3 innings, giving up 4 earned runs, but that was at Minute Maid Park, and we know that Brown has really struggled at Minute Maid Park this season with an ERA at 5.47. On the road, he's 6-4 with a 3.86 ERA, 84 strikeouts in 77 innings, much lower opponent's batting average and better control as well. I think he pitches well in this game, and I think his offense backs him up enough. Eduardo Rodriguez, a really good pitching option for Detroit, but this is an Astros team that's crushing lefties in the last 30 days. They're number 1 in baseball in team OPS. They're number 1 in isolated power. They have a very low strikeout rate and high walk rate to go with it. So I'm not in love with the Houston Astros bullpen in terms of regression concerns. I think there could be some as they have a pretty high SIERA in the last month. But I think Houston's good enough here to grab the W on the road. Give me the Astros on the money line. Next up, the Los Angeles Angels taking on the New York Mets. Carlos Carrasco for the home team. No official starter for the Halos. I'm going to go with the Angels here in a lean on the money line. The Angels have hit righties pretty well this season. Carlos Carrasco having a disappointing year with an ERA at 6.42 overall. Even steeper at Citi Field with a 7.68 ERA. His last start against the Cardinals, he was only able to go 4 innings. He gave up a home run, 3 earned runs, and 9 base hits. Gives up a lot of sharp contact, a lot of base runners. Doesn't have the good strikeout stuff to back it up. Only 65 Ks in 88 innings. Give me the Angels here in a lean on the money line. Next up, the Oakland Athletics taking on the Chicago White Sox. J.P. Sears and Touki Toussaint are your starters. I think the White Sox are still overvalued in a game like this. I know the A's are, one of the worst teams in baseball this year, but Chicago's in that mix as well, and they're not really being priced as so. When we saw in the first game, the A's took it 8-5, even though they were down in the middle innings. They found a way to come back because this White Sox bullpen has just not been good enough. And J.P. Sears, I think, is one of the better options in this A's rotation. He's been good on the road this season. He didn't pitch well in his last game, but that was against the Baltimore Orioles, a very tough lineup against lefties. The White Sox just aren't that lineup in the last month and overall this season. Disappointing numbers for Chicago against Southpaws for a team that in recent years was hitting lefties very well. Touki Toussaint, an ERA above 5 on the season. He also struggled his last game. He's given up 4 home runs his last 8 innings of work and 10 earned runs to go with it. Give me the Oakland A's at plus money price here on the money line. In our next game, it's the San Diego Padres taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Pedro Avila and Freddie Peralta are your starters. Avila has been sharp this season in the long reliever role. 23 innings of work, 28 strikeouts, and a 1.17 ERA. The control was a bit of a concern early in the year, and overall 9 walks in those 23 innings. But in his last 4 appearances out of the bullpen, only 2 walks allowed in a good amount of innings. So I think he pitches well early in this game for San Diego. The bullpen's improved in the last month, and the Brewers' bullpen's been solid in the last 2 months or so. Freddie Peralta's pitching well. He's in good form. 11 strikeouts his last game against the Texas Rangers. Very good lineup there. He only gave up 1 run in 5 2/3 innings. He's been better at home in his career. Give me the under here in San Diego, Milwaukee. In our next game, it's the Cardinals and the Phillies at Citizens Bank Park. We're going to see Zach Wheeler and Dakota Hudson on the mound. I'm going to lean towards the Phillies and the over in this game. The Phillies are hitting righties very well in the last month. They're top 5 in baseball in team OPS, top 3 in isolated power. And Dakota Hudson, even though he's got a 3.95 ERA, is a much steeper 4.95 expected ERA, 4.48 xFIP. So I think there's some regression concerns in his game going forward. Zach Wheeler struggled his last start against the Nationals as a team has just been able to get to him almost every single start this year. No surprise. I mean, they're a team in limit strikeouts, and they're a tough team to face. But the Cardinals also a solid lineup, a low strikeout rate against righties in the last month. Good OPS numbers, solid isolated power numbers. So that's why I lean towards the over. I do think the Phillies grab the win in the end. In our next game, it's the Texas Rangers taking on the Minnesota Twins. Max Scherzer for Texas, no official starter for the Twins. Probably a game I'm staying away from because I do think Max Scherzer is a good option, obviously, on the mound. But on the road this season, he hasn't been great, and he does give up some sharp contact away from home. That bodes well for a pretty powerful team like the Twins, who have good isolated power numbers against righties overall this season. Scherzer's last game, his control was off. It was against the Brewers. He went only 3 2/3 innings, giving up 4 walks. He had 4 strikeouts in the end, but it was a 6-2 Rangers loss. Overall, Texas just not playing great baseball. I'd honestly probably lean toward the Minnesota Twins here on the money line. But like I said, it's tough to go against Scherzer, so probably a game I'll stay away from. Next up, the Chicago Cubs taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Javier Assad for Chicago, no official starter for the Buccos. I'll lean towards the Pirates here on the money line. Javier Assad's got a 3.13 ERA, but a 4.66 xFIP, or excuse me, expected ERA, and a 4.67 xFIP. So there are some regression concerns going forward. He has not really missed a lot of bats this year, only 6.63 Ks per 9, and a pretty high walk rate of 3.75 walks per 9. Pirates good numbers against righties in the last month and a good bullpen to go with it. So give me Pittsburgh here on the money line at home. And your final game for Saturday's card in Major League Baseball is the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Brett Kennedy and Zach Davies returns to the mound for this one. Zach Davies was struggling at Chase Field before the injury. Overall this season, he's been struggling. A 1-5 record with a 7.38 ERA. This is a good Reds lineup against righties. I think Davies gets hit pretty hard early in this game. The Diamondbacks bullpen, while it's been better as of late, is still a bullpen that in the last month has an ERA above 5 and pretty bad expected numbers to go with it. The Reds bullpen also pretty bad expected numbers in the last month. Brett Kennedy, somebody that I'm looking to regress as the season continues. Only 12 innings of work, so small sample size, and a good ERA, but the expected numbers are not great. Only 6 strikeouts in those 12 innings. Give me the over here in Cincinnati, Arizona 10 tonight. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.